Welcome to the Boss Talk Academy, New Rich Society, baby. Y'all know what's going down. Right now, we're getting into our exclusive podcast by yours truly. Yup. After a whole week, you know, it's cool to just get into this live podcast every week, 10 p.m. on Sunday. So, like, basically, on this podcast, I'm gonna just like take it easy. And let's get into this podcast. I'm gonna go over a video on this podcast. It just came up on my page.
That's something
My wife.
your wife.
Yeah. We lived in a house in Queens. She designed the house around the Southwest.
Wow.
I had never been west of the Mississippi. I didn't fly in an airplane until I was 35 years old.
Really?
Really?
Out of fear or
No,
what?
I had no place to go. I was busy working.
Are you a workaholic?
Yeah.
Still?
I'm cutting down a little bit. I'm working 6 days now versus 7.
You work 6 days a week.
Yeah.
So you're full-time at Arizona Beverages.
And I enjoy what I do, and it's not work.
Let me ask you this, because I say that all the time. People around me go, that's bullshit. You're going to work. There has to be a moment that you don't feel good going to work. No, there are moments I'm not having as good of a day as I have another day, but I enjoy what I do.
Well, that means you accomplish something, because if you're not happy with what you do, don't do it. Right? You know, when I'm off, it's work. When I'm at work, it's pleasure and entertaining and interacting with people. It's great stuff.
Do you feel like entrepreneurs try to raise money before they've even learned to sell the product that they're trying to sell?
Well, that's the new approach to business.
Why, though? It feels like a lie.
They read about other people doing that, and they figure that's the way to do it. So often people come into my office saying, do I want to invest? Do I want to get involved?
Right.
And oftentimes they've been at business a few years, and I say, how you doing? They say, I'm losing money doing
Right.
it. That's always a turnoff. You know, the first can of Arizona I sold in 1992, I made a profit on. The first can, I made a profit on it. And the last can I'm going to sell tonight, I'm going to make a profit on it. In business, my dad told me, know your cost and sell it for above that, right? So often these people don't understand that cost. They haven't figured that out because it's not important. They figure, let's get some capital. I'll squander it through advertising and all that kind of stuff. Maybe go for a second round of raising more capital. Oftentimes it doesn't work out. That's not our style. That's not my style. You know, everything in our company we own. We have zero debt. I'm able to do that because I'm a practical conservative guy, right?
And so you believe that if your company can't afford it, you don't do it.
That's exactly right.
That's like a well-rounded marriage.
Well, you know something? I like to go to sleep at night knowing that everything I've got I own, and I don't have to have anybody knocking on my door. My father taught me that.
I love that.
He was a depression guy, you know, who's lost his house. His family lost his house.
So he was a 20s guy.
Yeah.
So you're the result of having a father who lived through the Depression.
Mhm.
So being conservative, like you said, you appreciate a dollar.
Yeah.
I think that art is lost as a whole today.
It's a shame.
It's a shame.
Because I think
too.
people who invest their own money are more apt to do it wisely versus saying, I got capital in from somebody else. I'll roll the dice and see what happens.
But you know that we're taught that a better investment play is the play where you don't spend your own money. However, I disagree, and I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
People take money, they're trying to build a brand. At the time, your competition was Snapple. Like, what did you notice that said there's an opportunity here?
I was saying to a couple of passengers in my car coming in today, I came up with the idea of Arizona right here on Broadway in Houston Street.
Oh, my God.
I was in a grocery store, and a Snapple truck pulled up. It was February, and he was selling iced tea in February. And I said, iced tea's not supposed to sell in the wintertime. And I went home that night. I told my wife I'm going into the tea business. But it happened right here. And what I saw was an opportunity to have a better product in a can that I said would stand out. And I had trucks and salespeople who were selling alcohol at the time, and it was just a plug-in.
Now, where along this process did the tall boy can come? How did you execute that?
The short story is I thought I was going to put it in a glass bottle at first because that's what everybody else was doing.
That was
Lipton,
Snapple, right?
and ST. Lipton and ST was also in that same bottle, Gatorade.
Right.
So I went to a factory in South Jersey that was making Snapple. And it was a man I knew. And he said to me, "So you got a label?" I said, "No." "Got a name?" "No." "Got a package?" "No. But I have an idea." He said, "You know something, Don? That's better than most guys."
Sure.
But I got back on the turnpike and I stopped at a 7-Eleven. I bought a couple of Snapples to stare at on the way home to Brooklyn. And I said, if I don't have a package that is going to be different than Snapple, the retailer is going to sell it at the same price as Snapple. And why would a consumer choose me over them? They know Snapple. They're comfortable with Snapple. By the time I got back to Brooklyn, I talked myself out of the tea business.
Because you were saying, why would someone buy my product over
In the
Snapple?
same bottle, at the same price.
But why were you stuck on a glass bottle? Because you're just the manufacturer said that's what he has? Or?
No, because I saw the other competition in glass bottle, and I thought in order to get into it, you should be in a light package. I was naive.
Simple-minded.
Yeah. I said, if I can't figure out how I'm going to get a consumer to buy me over Snapple, I don't deserve to be in the business. So one day, leaving the house, and my wife said, "By the way, whatever happened with that idea?" And I said, "You know something, I couldn't make it work." And she said, "I didn't think you were going to pull that one off," she told me.
That pissed you off.
Yeah. I knew her since high school, and I said, "What the heck is that?" It's 7 o'clock in the morning, and I get to the office, and I said, "I got to do something." And I'm in a 7-Eleven, and there's a Gatorade in a 24-ounce can.
So the bigger one, okay.
Yeah, that big can. I said, if I could sell that big can for the same price as Snapple, 16-ounce, I'll be a 50% price advantage at the same price, and I'll get consumers because it's going to stand out. Years later, people say, "Wow, that was ingenious." No, it wasn't. It was an accident, essentially. So,
you know what's interesting about what you keep saying about the can? You keep saying, I wanted it to stand out. It literally stands above every other beverage on the shelf. So you ended up doing that. I don't think it was much of an accident. I hear what you're saying. And yeah, circumstantial, this is what circumstances gave
things
us.
happen. Sometimes good things happen. Yeah,
Right.
sometimes. Most time, no.
Well, let me ask you a question. Had you been the guy who was looking to raise money in 1992 for Arizona Beverages, do you think a PE firm would have invested in Arizona Beverages with your idea?
Well, I'll tell you a story. I was banking with, in those days, Chemical. And I went to my bank and I wanted to borrow $500,000 to fund this Arizona idea.
Before you began?
Before I began.
Okay.
I was a business.
No, you were a distributor, right?
Yeah, I was a distributor for, alcohol.
Okay, got it.
I had a pretty sizable business. And at the end of the presentation, the banker said, stay to the alcohol business. And he denied the loan. I told Jimmy Dimon years later, I told him the story. I said, banks are funny. They want to loan you money when you don't need it. Everybody comes to me and say, "Hey, why don't you take a loan?" Back then, an entrepreneur like me who had been in business for 20 plus years,
right,
who was doing business with the bank, thought it was a bad idea. When we started in Brooklyn and Queens. We saw success. I saw it the first weekend.
You knew right away?
Right away. I put it into a bunch of stores.
What was the indicator? Tell me, okay.
Sold out.
But I'm saying, the first weekend, give me a number.
I had my sales manager go open up 10 accounts on a Friday, and then we went back to the stores on Monday. It was May 5th, 1992. And I said, get a variety of stores, gas station, a drugstore. And on Monday, he called me. He said he went to visit the 10 stores. 9 out of 10 sold out. It was a case of each. We had 2 flavors. I said, what happened to the 10th one? He said, well, the guy didn't pack it out. I said, that doesn't count.
And that means it would have sold out.
Right, exactly. I said, we got something here.
Why did you print 99 cents on the can?
Because in 1997, the big can stopped selling. We had a glass bottle, and it was very pretty. It was drinkable.
Oh, I remember that, actually.
Yeah, had a long neck.
Yep.
It was 20 ounces.
Why'd you do that?
Coke, Pepsi, all the brands were 16-ounce bottles, so I went to 20-ounce. Cans were tight. the big can business was Schlitz Bowl. I don't know if you know that brand.
Yeah, I do.
They were selling that can. They were the biggest customer for it. And Reynolds Metals was making it in Texas, one plant. The first year we took more than they expected
because you were booming.
Yeah. And the following year they called me in March and said, "That's all cans I can give you for the year."
For the year?
For the year.
So what happens to your business at that point?
Well, what happened was I ended up going to Richmond, Virginia, to the headquarters of Reynolds Metal, because a company, Schlitz, talked them into giving them the cans, and they were coming out with a T to knock us off.
Was that basically a move to sabotage?
Yeah, it was collusion between a supplier and a big brewer. And I went there and I spoke to the president of Reynolds and I said, I'm a Brooklyn guy. You don't want to put me out of business.
Don't fuck with me.
Yeah, right.
Was that the sentiment though?
Yeah, and the brand that they were introducing was called Chaos.
Chaos.
It lasted for about 6 weeks.
I was going to say I never heard of it.
But from that, I got cans that year, but I said, I got to get away from these guys. And I said, I need a glass bottle.
Did you feel like you were stuck in a monopoly, like where they controlled your destiny? Is that why you went to glass?
Yeah, because there was one guy making that big can. Glass became a big hit. The glass bottle was terrific.
Yep.
But it overshadowed the can because retailers said, well, I'll sell the glass and I'll drop the can. It was resealable and it was...
I feel like the can was your marketing though.
It was, but back then the glass bottle was outselling can probably 10 to 1. What happened is the glass bottle was so pretty. We had these shrink labels. They were beautiful. And retailers were selling the can at the same price as the glass. They got the price up and it shut down the consumer because they said, well, if I'm going to pay that price, I'll get the glass bottle. And the can kind of died up. So I brought my sales guys in. I said, we got to wake this can up. They said, well, how to do it? I said, well, let's put a price on it. One of my sales managers said, boss, that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard.
Did you fire him?
No, but I didn't listen to him. And then we put the price on the can and the can woke up.
Woke the giant up.
Yeah. That year we did less than 50 million big cans. This year we're going to sell over 1 billion of them.
50 years from now, do you think the price will change or no?
Well, at some point, who knows, right? I mean, we've been fighting off the devil called inflation, with some of the tariff effects.
Where do you get your metal from?
About 80% of the can metal comes from recycled metal that's recycled in America. But 100% of it is being affected by the tariff. And we buy thousands of pounds of juice on an annual basis. And it was affected by tariffs. These countries, 30%, 40% of the cost was affected by tariff. That's now being refunded to us because of that Supreme Court decision. But aluminum is outside. Aluminum and steel is outside that. Now, on the juice front and other things, most manufacturers have raised price because of that. And
because of the tariffs.
And now they're not going to lower the price now. So the consumers are complaining about inflation.
Right.
And the tariff, in fact, affected a lot of that inflation because manufacturers were paying a higher cost for goods. In our case, we held low price. So we're getting the refund. That's great. But oftentimes, in a lot of the manufacturers out there, raise price, and they're not going to lower price now.
Because they figure once the consumer's used to it, leave it.
Yeah. And if they lower the price, the retailer might say, I'm not going to lower the price. So, they're caught in a kind of like a little bit of a box. But the problem is that inflation today is hurting everybody. And when I talk to consumers and retailers, they're affected by consumers who just don't have the money to go shopping and buy normal necessities on a regular basis because they're short. So my decision to hold price, I've made it contrary to the whole tariff thing. I didn't know what was going to happen with tariff. I'm happy I did. We're able to continue to thrive, holding the line. We're getting the benefit of consumers who appreciate it. Now we're in the hard category. We do alcohol.
Hard liquor, right?
Yeah. So we do it under, I say Arizona, our consumers grew up and so did we, right?
They're all 21 now.
Yeah, right. So they're able to buy alcoholic beverages. And we're using the same philosophy on that as we did with the non-alc. We're offering value, high quality, great packaging, large size cans, that kind of thing. So, it's not a strategy that I came up with 25 years ago. I have a strategy every day. Right?
You change it. It changes with the time.
Like the wind.
I know all about that.
Yeah.
I'd love to know from you how hard it was to maintain control of Arizona, specifically during the time your partner and you